11 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you're following along with Tom's free Telegram channel, dtitrader.com/Telegram. And of course, we encourage everybody to join us over on our YouTube site, dtitrader.com/YouTube. We should be welcoming in our YouTube audience this morning. So, good morning, everybody over there. For those of you who'd like to know, you go to dtitrader.com/YouTube, click on the live link, and let's see, I need to make sure that I'm muted on that. Click on your little bell so you can be reminded of when to come on. And if you like what you're seeing, give us a big thumbs up. As always, feel free to participate in the chat, say good morning and whatnot. We want to grow that channel, and the more of you that participate over there, the better. Now, we are going to get into talking about markets, and there is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. You and you alone as a trader are going to be responsible for all the decisions you make that involve trading. So keep that in the back of your mind. Don't let yourself get hung out there. You control the outcome. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. And little different side here. Usually we talk about T-Buzz Talk and Trade in the lead up, but some of you guys don't show up until the very last minute. I see some people logging in right now. So first of all, good morning. Glad you're here. But this is what you miss when you don't come in. So this morning in Telegram, we talk about T-Buzz Talk and Trade. Look at the Magic 5 here. Apple 313.55. If you guys have been following Apple, they've been doing pretty well. They're at 310.56 right now. Let me just check this. They went up to 311.49 since 8:30 this morning, but that's a nice little stock to keep an eye on. IWM at 305.55. That's the ETF for the Russell Futures. They have a high of 303.15. The Diamond at 537.55. Not moving above that number. Home Depot, 445.55. Home Depot reported earnings this morning. I think that should be 345. So a little bit of a typo there, but 345.55. As always, if you follow along with Tom and I, you know it's the last two numbers that count, not the first ones. Home Depot at 343.18 right now, made it up to 344.54 earlier. And then Lilly at 1185. I'll tell you what, Tom, usually it's the first one that gets everybody's attention, but Lilly is up at 1214, been up to 1216.91. It's at 1185. Nice number.
Yeah, and but the one thing that emphasized, you know, Apple was in the very first spot, even though I said it's confirmed above 313.55. At the time, it was at 307 this morning. And so
Yeah.
you could have probed the trade if you've been watching it like I did. And then, then the options open up and we took off. But it's an early shot that Apple's on the move when a lot of its competitors are correcting. So that's what I was really trying to get across there, but posted it in the number one spot.
Yeah, it definitely came up, looked at that resistance, and the overall market is not exactly bullish, so you wouldn't expect too much follow through. That's one of the points there is you
Yeah.
got those numbers, when the market starts moving in a more positive direction. So pay attention to that. Speaking of that, pivot number at 77.75. For those of you that might not be aware, that's based on, in large part, number one, it's a historical number, 75. But number two, we go to last week, 77, 76, 75 was the open of the week. I bring that up, Tom, because the open of RB4 yesterday was 77, 76, 75. So the market's telling you pay attention to that area right around 77, 75. And if you weren't paying attention to the market, maybe you'll pay attention to Tom because he let you know what he was seeing. Speaking of letting you know what he's seeing, insights here. We've got market in correction below weekly open. That was last week's open, 77.75. Last night's sell-off has to play out. So we're still watching it play out as we speak. We actually went down to a new low at 77.14 quarter. We're back up to 77.22. Watch Micron, MU. The day requires patience. Also, watch the VIX, and we'll get into those particular markets as we go forward. Let's take a look in here. First of all, let's look at crude. Open at 84.10. Now, I should point out we are on the October contract of crude. For those of you following along with certain feeds, that is CLV 26, Charlie Lima Victor 26. That would be the October contract for crude. So if those numbers look a little bit off, check and make sure you're not still on the September contract. We rolled to October last night. All right, so 85.07, the high point of that contract. 83.77 the low. We're currently trading at 84.30. FTD levels. Now, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Everybody's talking about how down the market is, and we are below that FTD high at 78.20 quarter. It is a corrective phase in the market, but just think about how far above that open we are, which was 75.50. We're currently trading at 77.20. I'm 100 points below the FTD high and about 170 above the open of the month. So perspective is a mighty thing. News, Iran, that's a big thing. You don't see my screen. Yeah, Roz, you're seeing my screen. It says news shaping the market. Everybody's seeing that. I'm seeing that. It's up on YouTube. It's everywhere. So you might want to click on the little tab at the top of the Zoom. That'll get you on the right spot. Retail earnings, we had a couple of them this morning. We'll have a few more tomorrow morning. And of course, Walmart coming out on Thursday morning. That's going to be the big event. Let's go in and Tom, get your opinion on this market. What are you seeing?
Well, clearly the weekly trend is negative, and I canceled power today because the odds are not in our favor. Uh, because it just doesn't make a lot of sense trying to fit a 3-day trade, 2-day trade in a week that's got to correct. And that's what this is doing, is correcting. And so my opinion is the best horse to have is the SPY horse. And we spent a lot of time yesterday talking about it. And then, you know, hedging it up if you need to hedge it up. That's exactly what you should have done. And then, of course, you know, it's interesting to me that a lot of these great stocks are pulling back here in the middle of August. You know, we went through this paint drying stage, and I'm not saying we're out of it, but you can see that last night they accelerated the movement in the Asian European markets, and people walked in this morning and go, "Oh, look at this," and that's the value of the 24-hour market.
Yeah, definitively. And again, I think perspective is always an important thing. We are still looking at strong markets. They're just pulling back right now. We'll see if this pullback becomes more than just a pullback. Why we use stops? Well,
Yeah, let me
let's
talk
see.
about this. This is so typical. Okay, gold's bullish. And if you look at gold in any way you evaluate it, gold's on the move. The problem with gold is from time to time it has air pockets where it just all of a sudden it just drops like a rock. Well, last night in a setup that's accurate about 9 out of 10 times, I got into gold and I sat down and I was getting ready to, change the TV around. Next thing I know, it drops like a rock from the highs, which was 44.93 down to my stop. And I say, okay, that's one of the next 10,000 when it happens, but here's the value of it. If you're still hoping for it to go up today, gold's trading at 44.21. It gets you out of the hoping stage. You take your medicine and move on and go find something else that's going to make you money when that occurs. And that's the value of having a stop in because if you play the futures market or play any market without having an all bets off number, you're really asking for trouble. And last night, gold sure gave people some trouble. And, we'll be ready to go when it sets up again. But always have, especially when it comes to futures and stocks, have a place that says, hey, I got to take action. I usually call that a warning underlying. If it hits a warning price or something like that, you got to have a plan and always have a plan. And that's the beautiful thing, I think, personally, by doing the whole process of trading. You find out where you're going to get in, right? You find out where you're going to take your profit, but you always know where it's time to pitch the trade. And so anyway,
Yeah,
for
and
each
Tom,
trade I know. And
it's
write it
also
down
important.
before you get in. Hold it. Write it down before you get in, because once you get in, you start lying to yourself.
Right. It's also important to remember that stops are basically just a type of order. We can use stops for risk management. We can also use them to let us know when it's time to get back in play. And you've got a number here for gold, 44.75 back in play. So would you be sitting with a stop on that, or are you just watching
No,
that
no,
number and then
that's a
evaluating
warning to
after?
tell me look at it again. And I set
Okay,
an
gotcha.
alert at 44.75. It will hit it, and then I'll look at the setup and I'll go back in there. Again, maintaining a good process of how to get in and out of gold, which is a very volatile thing. If you're trading it, if you own it, it's a different story. It's in a drawer. Or if you have silver, like I have laying here on my desk, silver coins, I hardly ever look at, the price of those, but I've had them for years. They remind me just how much silver appreciated over the years. Bought
Yeah,
those,
so
I think.
silver and gold, great, but also, Tom, we've got some stocks we want to look at. You got an addition to your watch list here.
Yeah, I said I want to start watching Home Depot. Uh, if it goes above 345 and then 352 is its frame, the stock's in play. And I gave a stock price there, 355, it's in play.
All right,
And that means, folks,
350.
I'll start doing trades around when I say it's in play.
Yeah, 355.55. Remember, that was also on the Magic 5 this morning. So definitely pay attention to that Telegram channel if you've got that. Now, our past five trade and trade sessions, Tuesday of last week, we talked about bracket orders and TOS. We took a little education on the platforms in the classroom and then brought it into train and trade. Hope you guys enjoyed that. On Wednesday, five questions about hedging. Thursday, Tom just mentioned those air pockets that could be in gold. So you can see we're actually getting in front of the events in our training here, and that's always a good thing. Friday, we talked about trading the SPY with daily pivots. And yesterday, we talked about the SPY in correlation with the E-mini S&P futures. All right. Now, I think I've got an update to the slide, so I'm just going to do a quick refresh here, and we'll look at the August FTD stocks. Let's go in and bring these up. All right. And switch the magnification there. You can see the VIX 15.84, 12.2%. So that's how much further the VIX has to go down to get below the FTD low. If you've got the VIX going down, that's a positive thing for the market. So it's getting close. Watch that closely. 1584 versus 1548. The E-mini S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow are no longer above the FTD highs, but they did click that checkbox. Now we want to make sure that they don't click the other one. If we get that FTD low, 75, 42, 75, 28, 3, 13, 50, or 52, 7, 77, that's going to send a different type of message. So pay attention. The Dow is closest to clicking that off, and the Dow's been one of our stronger markets in this third quarter. Just not so much in the past week or so. The Dow has been showing us some concerns, and of course, some of those earnings that we're looking at, those retail earnings, could have a high impact in the Dow. And you can see we've got crude on the October contract, crude, gold, and silver all over 100% on that FTD percentage. That means that they are all above the FTD highs. So you've got the commodity markets doing well. Bonds,
Yeah, hold it.
not
Let me
so
let
much.
me jump on corn. I got a bunch of positions on corn, and I've got corn's moved up above 485, which was a warning number. So I've been watching it pretty close. 485. It's sort of the midpoint area, but we have I think, some 500 calls against it out to December. And what's going to tell me it's time to take action there is have a day where corn moves above 495. Now, what would I do above 495? Well, depending on the move and the time of day, I would look at what it would cost me to buy back the short call I have, which I do, and then I would flip the script. I would go down and find me a put for about the same dollars and double put it. In other words, say if I have a put and a call and the call turns nasty, rather than sell another call and get myself in trouble again, what I will do is take the trend that's very strong, flip the script, and go down and sell a put for what it cost me to get out of the call. That's what I would do. Okay. And I'm talking about a put on futures, selling a put, which is a bullish transaction. Everybody understand that? So let's say I'm short a call at 500 and short a call at 430 or short a put at 430. Well, the put at 430 is making me a lot of money, but the 500 call I'm behind on. And so if I got above 495, I would probably take a hit on that one, look what I paid for it, and go find me a put on the same cycle that would give me that money back. That's the way I would do it.
Yeah, and definitely the comment put on futures. We had a clarifying question come up from one of our students in there, and yeah, the futures contract does have options, and it's going to be at slightly different prices than the full on commodity. So when we look at these markets, whether it's the SPY and the S&P, IWM, and the Russell futures, what have you. We always want to differentiate between futures and just straight up options. So,
Yeah, a
great
common
question.
mistake,
Appreciate that.
a common mistake for people that do this trade in gold is they'll go sell another call higher, and then about a week later, because the trend's so strong, they're having to do the same strategy. So all we're going to do is take advantage of a trend that we've been watching now for about 90 days. It's going higher, and the number is 495 and a half. Gets above that, then I would take action. I'd get out of the short call and go find me a put and sell it for the same cycle. Swapping money on the right side of the trend because you got a trending market if it goes that high. And I'm looking at corn right now just to tell everybody where the current level of corn is. Uh, yeah, 488. I don't do anything. Always have the plan. Keep the emotions out of it.
Yeah, definitely easier to plan before you get into the trade
Yeah,
rather than
yeah.
after.
Sure is, isn't it?
All right, so we'll look down at some of our. These are our gold and silver related stocks. Here we got some mining stocks coming in, um, and those are still looking very strong. We come down to Apple. Airbnb is just still 556%. They had a great start to the month of August and really showing off. So they've been sitting around that level for a little while now. Come in, we look at Amazon and App Lovin really kind of turning the other direction. That's part of the problem with this market right now. AVAB, one of Tom's recent look-ins, and still above the FTD high. We got BTU above that FTD high. CoreWeave, GoDaddy, all looking great, but just below that, GM and Google kind of struggling a little bit. Come down here, J&J, one of our big pharma stocks, that is looking solid in August. Keep coming down. Lilly, and Lilly's very close to showing off again. 97.31 on the percentage level here. That means they are just below that 1216.94 FTD high. So keep an eye on Lilly and keep coming through. We get to the bottom of the list. Tom, the one that I'm really paying a lot of attention to this week in particular, we've got earnings coming out on Thursday for Walmart. Walmart is looking very strong. 116.14, which is above that 113.29 high. So pretty good numbers on Walmart. Now, I know that Jonathan has put together a great presentation for you guys today, and let's see if we can get back into it. And I'm going to let Jonathan and crew take over. Stocks and ETFs of interest on a down Tuesday in a bull market.
Yeah, I got a list of stocks here that Tom you wanted to cover, so let's go through them all.
Sure.
We have 5 ETFs: GLD, SLV, SPY, QQQ, IWM. And we have about 7 stocks or so: Broadcom, Microsoft, Micron, Intel, Google, Apple, and SpaceX. We're going to go through these in this order, looking at various charts of different time frames. And then at the very end, we're going to bring up a numbers table so we can look at it from a different perspective. So we start off with GLD, and this is a weekly chart.
Now, what I look at is, are we in the top end of the week? Y'all tell me, yes or no. Looking at those bars there. That's on GLD. David, we are. Look at it. We're at the very top of gold.
The past 2 bars is what you're referring to, right, Tom?
Yeah, right, exactly. This is my 2-bar approach. Does everybody see how gold is bullish based on my 2-bar approach on the week? Everybody see that? Okay, perfect. All right. Then we go to the daily. Now, what I see in the daily is a new low on the daily. Everybody see that? So the daily's turned south. Okay. At a glance, it's turned south on the daily. Okay. Then we get in and we drill in on the 30-minute. I'd call that sideways or inside RB3. So here's the way I analyze gold. Gold's bullish on the weekly, having a down day, and RB3 is just neutral. No trade on gold, the way I see it. Y'all see how I arrived at that? No trade. Okay. Let's keep going doing this. This is fun.
Yep. Next one is SLV, starting with weekly chart.
Okay. Again, it's silver in the top end of the 2 day. Yes, it is. The week looks good. The weekly chart looks good. All right, let's go to the daily. Daily doesn't, just like gold, it's correcting. But I know where silver gets bullish again, don't it? Above the high of that preceding day. What's that high of that bar? And they can write it down. The high of that previous day bar.
Yeah, that'd be $60.15.
So you could set an order on SLV or alert at 60, what was it? 60, what was it?
60.15.
Yeah, set it there. That'll tell you it's time to focus on silver. Then let's go to the 30-minute. Yep. Still inside RB3, neutral. That's just all, that's the way you sit. So gold and silver, hands off. All right. Let's keep doing this. This is fun.
Next up is the SPY, starting with weekly chart.
Okay, the SPY is sort of at the top end, which is bullish, but the week has made a new minor low. Everybody see that? On the weekly. Okay. All right. This is the general market we're talking now. All right. Look at the daily. All right. What's the high of the day on the SPY?
Today's high, I'll have to go to a live chart here to tell you. Not on the metrics here on the swing tab. Today's high is 769.5.
All right. 769.5. Write that number down. SPY's at 767.57. But what was yesterday's high?
Let's see, yesterday's high was 776.77.
Yeah, 777 tells you if we got above 777, the market's going to start cranking again. But that's going to change because when we roll into tomorrow, today's high becomes a trigger. Okay. All right, let's go to the 30-minute. Again, inside RB3. Nothing to shout about there. Okay? That's on the SPY.
And I did take this snapshot earlier in the day. Looks like it's right at the low of RB3 right now. It has dipped below RB3.
Okay. There's the QQQ. Again, at the top of the range of the 2 bars and hanging in there. Let's go to the daily. Sort of a gap down there in the is what he's showing, but I think if you look at it, just trend down. So it's made a new low on the daily, which basically tells you your NASDAQ stocks have pulled it down and under pressure on the daily. Let's go to the 30-minute.
And it is below the reference bar as of right now.
Yeah, so it's negative today. So let me ask the question. Here's a true false question. If I'm long the SPY, on the long side of the SPY, would I be a cowboy and get out of, or excuse me, buy more? Would I buy more of the SPY long right now? No, I'll wait. Okay. Now, if I'm short my hedge against that SPY, would I get out right now? No. Let's let it crank a little bit. Okay. That's the beauty of the SPY and the QQQ. You got a liquid market and you should let it play into your zone. Okay. Looking at the bigger picture for August and for the week. Okay. Now this one is a bullish for the small cap, right? Okay. Matter of fact, it's in my TNT. I had it 305.55. Okay. Gets above that, it's going to roll. The small caps are. What does the daily look like? The daily's turned south. So I'd kill that idea today. Okay. But I would take today's high tomorrow and see if I'm getting another setup. Because it is in the top of the bigger picture. What does the 30 minutes say? About midpoint, Jonathan? Is that it? Okay.
The 30-minute is near the lows. The midpoint is 301.84, that blue line, RB3.
Well, the daily's already told me I would be a buyer. But the 30 minutes basically saying we're going lower and, I wouldn't be a seller because of the weekly. Okay. All right, let's keep looking. This is fun. Avco. Now this stock, I started trading it this month and it's just been a wonderful stock. And then all of a sudden it goes into a correction. Notice the weekly is down here at the low and all that support's right there. If you look across the board, even on the 2-day. So the weekly is obviously consolidating on the weekly. Let's look at the daily. Now the daily's weak, right? Okay, what's the high of the day?
See, today's high. Go to roadmap another screen.
Mm-hmm.
385.78.
Okay, 385. I'd write that number down. That would tell me it's time to look at it close again for another long. Okay. Go to the 30 minute. Looks like at 30 minutes, it's bottomed out there. If it starts reversing, it's probably going to set back up. What's the day's RB3?
385.78.
There's your number, folks. So if you trade Avco like I do, okay, 385, I got to look at it close again. That's Avco. Perfect.
About Microsoft.
Okay, Microsoft on the weekly is turned a little bearish, but it's down at support, right? And I notice there's a gap there on the weekly. What's the high of where we were before we gapped up on Microsoft? What's the high, that bar, the bar prior to going higher?
The big green bar?
Yeah, the big green. What's that high?
Let's see.
My guess that's going to be your support of Microsoft.
That weekly chart or weekly candle high was 460, just shy of 467.
And Microsoft right now is 482. It's well within the bullish zone. Okay, it's just correcting. Okay, this is where you wouldn't have long calls, but you might have a Cadillac trade or two. Okay, that's on Microsoft daily.
The daily Microsoft.
Yeah, that's not great. Okay.
And there's 30 minutes.
Again, 30 minutes sort of supporting itself right here, isn't it? Okay. Good way to tell if these markets are going to hold support to keep your eye on the S&P futures. Okay. And I got 77.20 right now. Okay. That's Microsoft. Now, if you have a Microsoft, let me tell you, somebody said they had a long Microsoft. What I would do, David, with a 510, 520 Microsoft, I would turn around and get rid of the 510 and buy a 525 and have a credit bearish spread up there at 520. You should be safe by your expiration there. It'd take a lot to get there. You see what I'm saying? I'd turn that into a credit bearish spread up there at those heights because the call that you have is sort of out of touch based on the current price. So you get out of the long call and go buy another one cheaper up there at 525 and then set it out. You're long to call, David. You sell out the 510. That's what I would do. I do that all the time if I get one out of sync. Okay. And I just make it a bearish spread because at the time it looked good, but now it looks like it's an impossibility with you down here at 483. That's the way I do it. All right, MU then. This stock is in a world of its own. It was hitting highs. What was the actual high it hit on this run up from the low, Jonathan? Was it about 1,040, something like that?
This is a weekly chart, the more closer to 13 or 1250 or so.
Well, okay, let's go to the daily. Daily's going to help us on this one.
The daily has a 14-day high of
Yeah, there you go.
1,006.
Yeah, what is that? 10, what is it? 10, what is it?
1,036.
Yeah, 1,036. And now you've had a break. And so you got to see, does it hold support, which is across the bottom there at, if you look at MU, it's 940. I'd say support about 910, something like that. Does it hold it? Where that stock moves? Okay. MU made a low on the 30-minute and looks like trying to turn here. We'll see. Okay. That's Intel. Intel's trying to break out, just can't get above 105. And there's the breakdown like so many stocks did last night. 30-minute, made a low and trying to take a bid there. Hadn't done it yet because the S&P's still weak. All right. Google. All right. This is a sort of a, this one's got me befuddled, but if I had a Google put, I'd definitely have a Google short call again. I have this on an iron condor because it definitely has support around the 340 area. And if I had enough time on the Google, on the put side, I'd sell the credit call spread against, make it an iron condor on Google. That's the way I would do it. There's the daily. It's in the support way I see it. Okay. That's on Google. All right. Now this is the star of the day if you're tracking Apple. I can tell you that from last Friday to now 305, as long as it's above 305, they're trying to go higher with Apple. Now when they go higher, it's anybody's guess, but if you get above I think it's about 315 is what I identified right there, 315, then Apple's going to run. So write that number down. That was where the fall from grace happened prior to earnings. It was at 330. It came down there and held for a long time and then broke. And we've been below that 315 area ever since. But you got a defined bottom on Apple, the way I see it, at 305. It sets itself up for a Cadillac trade. Anyways, that's the weekly. Look at the daily. Daily made a new high. Apple is the only stock I could find other than Lilly or something, a trading stock. Lilly's an investment stock, but Apple is the only stock I could find today that set itself up to go higher. I wonder what it did. Let's check it out. Go to the 30-minute. Find RB3. Got a whole different picture there. That's an option play made in heaven there. Look, get long and up we went. That's a heck of an Apple. It recognized the turn. You got the 305 all bets off number, and you got it just cranking higher. Apple's setting itself up. It went as high as 311 today, and we're going to see what happens after Genesis. But Apple looks very good today. That 313.55 I gave you in TNT was right on. Get above that. Now we go to a different frame. Apple. SpaceX. Weekly looks good. Now tomorrow or Thursday on SpaceX, they let more stock come. What happened the last time they let more stock come? It went higher. That's been the pattern. My guess it'll go higher after the stock's released this time because people have a memory. But it went higher after that overhead fear was removed. And 145 is a good pivot number for SpaceX right now. Next stop, 155. Daily looks good. What does the 30-minute look like? 30-minute looks okay. What's the high of RB3? About 144?
Yeah, it looks about 143.40 or so.
Yeah, I think above 145, you go higher. Maybe this week. We'll see. See if I'm right on that. And there it is. They released more shares on Thursday.
All right, I got a table here with the numbers and what you're looking at here. If the box is green and somehow SLV, those boxes got green, but if the box is green, that means the current price when I did this was above that number. So like GLD, the month open 370, we're above it. 3-day high and low, we're above that. But GLD is below the week open, the week start high and low, and below the daily open. That's how this color code is set up. That's what you're looking at here. SLV, same picture, above the month open, 3-day high and low, but below the week open, below the week start high and low, below the daily open.
And that's the current state of all these stocks, if you think about it. If you're gonna play to the long side, you gotta go with Apple and SpaceX.
And SpaceX, uh, it's below the week start high. SpaceX is, so that should be red. I'm not sure how that happened there, but
Oh, it is below? Okay.
that's the only number it's below, but it is
So
below
only one
that.
stock on that list. What stock on that list was in my #1 spot of TNT this morning?
That would be Apple.
That's Apple. And look at it. $309.58 is its monthly open, so it exceeded that. Had a high of 311.80. It's pulling back right now during Genesis. We're going to find out. More to go. That's a great slide, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix it so that I'll update the current prices and then fix the color coding. I'm not sure how it got off, but it clearly showed that Apple was the strongest market, which was our intention there. So that's good. Now, Tom, the market always throws us curveballs, but you decided to not do the trade yesterday on one ticker. Later this week, maybe it'll set up.
Yep. Yeah, it was set up, but when it broke yesterday on RB4, I was waiting for RB4 to be bullish, and I was going to do it, and it wasn't bullish. So I said, I'll just hold off. Well, clearly, I'm not going to do it today. Today's a set aside day for one ticker, but this will set up probably, I'm guessing, Thursday, maybe. Just looking at the way this thing's playing out this week. Okay. So I'll be doing one ticker this week, probably Thursday.
And the link to get involved is dtitrader.com/one, dtitrader.com/one for one ticker payouts. Trading the QQQ. We have a trade to win live trading today at 12:30. I'm going to drop off here and Chuck's going to play a stream of one ticker. And Tom, I'll see you over there at 12:30.
And I got a trade
All
that I
right.
will share with everybody when we get there.
Thanks, Tom. Enjoyed the session. Always good to look through charts and get your opinion on these
Well, I
stocks.
just thought, I think even in a bull market, you have to recognize when the environment's not good. You can't go in and trade just every day if it's not set up correctly. And a lot of the big money is made by being patient. And this is where we are now. It's going to be a good market once we get outside this zone of I'd say pinching you. But there's other things you can do, like I'm going to do in live trading today. It's a very safe trade I've developed. And I do have something I want to say on Lilly before we go. I've been encouraged. How many people have bought 1 or 2 shares or 5 shares or 20 shares of Lilly, LLY? Well, I was reluctant to do an option play on it, but I finally decided I'd do one. And it's basically an option. Let me give you the option play that I'm talking about on Lilly. I'll share it with everybody here. John, put this in TNT. That way we can track it. But TNT, it's the 1200 call, 1220 call, and I'm trying to buy it at $1,000 is what I'm trying to do. It's 1080 right now. But I believe, and it expires, let me give you the expiration date on that. It expires October 16th. And I'm willing to do it, put $1,000 on the line because I think that it will be above the 1220 and I can make 30 or 40% on that money, on that $1,000 if it makes it there. So Jonathan will do that in TNT. That's a spread. Don't pay higher than 10, but I got an order sitting there at 10. Hopefully I get filled on Lilly.
Okay, I've got it posted and I'll type it up for TNT right now.
All right.